Hello subscribers and watchers. Today I'm gonna teach you how to create a sample iPhone application using Swift. In order to develop Swift applications, you need three things. First one, you need a Mac. Then you need OS X Yasmite or OS X Mavericks. It is either 10.09 or 10.10. I have OS X Yasmite 10.10, which is the latest OS as of this recording, and you need Xcode 6 plus. To download Xcode, just go to App Store, search for Xcode, search, and this should find you Xcode in a moment, and click on this install button. It is around 2.5 gigabytes, which will take around an hour based on your bandwidth. Okay, once you download and installed it, just open it. I have already installed one. My Xcode version is 6.01, which is the latest as of this recording. Make sure that it is 6 or above, otherwise it will not support Swift. Okay, now let's create a new project. Click on this create a new project. Now here make sure that you are under this iOS section and not under OS X section. OS X application is for creating Mac apps. Now we are going to create apps for iPhone, so let's select iOS. Since we are going to create only a basic application, let's select just a single view app. Now you can name your project anything. Now the app which I'm gonna do is adding two numbers basically. So let me create as sum of two numbers. This is my project, and you can name anything, of course, and you can fill in this optional organization name, company identifier, and it will generate the bundle identifier for you. And make sure that the language selected is Swift and not Objective-C. And for now, let the device be just iPhone. We are not going to complicate with iPad. Now let's click next, and it is asking the place where I'm going to save this project. You can save anywhere in your hard disk. Okay, now that the app is ready and it is doing some processing in the background. Once the app is fully loaded, click mains.storyboard file. And storyboard is the place where you create all the user interface elements. So basically all the UI part goes here. So first, this is something odd. It is square and it is not as an iPhone, right? So let me click on this view controller and change the size to iPhone 4. So now you can have the feel of an iPhone, so that development will be pretty easy. Okay, so now, and here you can see one more file known as Viewcontroller.swift. It is the place where we write the backend logic, and here you can see an arrow. So this indicates that this is the first screen which is going to load once you run the app. Okay, so if you have multiple screens, you can move this to any other screens. For now I have only one screen, so this stays here. Okay, now I need a text box to input the numbers, right? So let me type as text, and you'll get a text field. Just drag it and drop it somewhere here. So this would input the number 1. You need one more to input the number 2. Fine. Now you have place to input two numbers. Now you need to display the result, right? Now for that, let me use label. You get this label, just place it at the center, and you can expand this as much as you want, and you can even center it. You can rename it as result is 0. Just click on the enter to rename it. Even you can set the default value. Just click this text field and double click. You can set a default value. Fine. Now we need a button. On clicking that button, these two should be added and the result should be printed here. So let me search for a button here. Here there is a button. Let me just drag and drop the button and rename it as add two numbers. Fine. Okay, fine. So here is now let's check if the UI is properly rendered. To check that, just click on this assistant editor, which is the second option here. You can see this, and you can toggle this menus if you need. Now I'm gonna hide all the menus. Now once you are in the assistant editor, here there will be something called automatic. Just change it to preview. So once you are in the preview mode, you can see how the end result of this looks. It is pretty much good, and there is a little bit of more space here. I think that's not necessary. Let me just shrink it and bring it here. Here you can see that as I move here, everything is aligned here properly. So I think this is pretty decent for our application. Now that we have created our user interface, now let's go to the part where we'll write the exact actual logic. So let me click on this automatic, go to Viewcontroller.Swift. Fine. Now what we have to do is we need to create references of all this two text fields, this label, the button here, so that we can access these elements in the runtime. Okay, fine. Now in order to create a reference, what you have to do is you have to control click and drag, or you can even right click and drag. Once you drag, it will ask for a name. Make sure that you have selected an outlet. Outlet is nothing but a reference to a view or an element. Fine. Now let me type as number 1. Click connect. Now let me drag this. Click number 2. Fine. Now we need a reference for the result also. Control, click. Make sure outlet is selected. Now click as, let's name it result. Fine. That's pretty much it. And to make sure that you have connected everything well, just hover over this. You will find these. Now if I hover over a particular element, you will find that the corresponding element is being highlighted. Fine, which is an indication that you have connected it correctly. Now regarding this button, we need to do a slightly different one. So on clicking this button, we need to invoke an event or an action. So to do that, it's quite similar. Just control and drag here. The only change is, instead of selecting outlet, you need to select action this time. Okay, and this is pretty much very important. If you select outlet, it's not gonna work, so make sure that you have selected action. Now you can type anything as add two numbers. Okay, fine. Now this creates an action for you, and if you hover over this plus, you can see that the button is being highlighted, which is an indication that it is connected to a button from the main storyboard. Awesome. Fine. Now all the things that should happen when the user clicks this button goes here. Okay, so basically you have to write all your code here, and you can use the references of these three. Okay, so first I need to get the values of what the user has typed here. Okay, so I'm gonna type variable number 1 equal to this. Number 1 is the text field which you have created. Number 1 dot text dot toInt, because we are gonna add it, so we need to convert it into an integer, and dot toInt is the Swift equivalent of converting a string into an integer. Okay, fine. Now one good thing about Swift is that the semicolon is optional. So you can put, or you can even neglect a semicolon. Now let me do the same for the second number. Number 2 dot text. Dot text retrieves the text that is here. Okay, so whatever is written here will be retrieved and it will be converted to dot to int. Okay, fine. Now you can go ahead and add these two, where sum equals number 1 plus number 2. Awesome. Now you need to display this. Okay, now it's showing me an error. Let me see. It is asking me value of optional type int is unwrapped. Do you want to wrap it? Let me just click this, fix it, insert. It asks the same for number 2. Let me just wrap it. So what it means is that the user can enter anything here. They may even enter a text or a number or anything. It is this to int may work or may not work. So if you put this exclamation mark, it is asking the Swift compiler to force unwrap it. So whatever may be the contents, just don't worry, just unwrap it. We will make sure that it is a number. Okay, so that's what this two means. Fine. Now that we got the sum, we need to display it in this label. So the label's references result dot text equals result is slash sum. In order to display a dynamic variable inside a string, you need to use this syntax. Just type a slash, then open braces, put the variable name, then close the braces. I think that's end of our coding. Now we have to run it. Let me just click this run. It will take more than a moment. For the iOS emulator, you can see that it is being built. Starting the emulator for the first time. Takes a little bit of time. Please be patient. Sorry, the simulator to boot. I think it's taking longer than usual.